I don't know if the algorithm hears me or not, but for some reason today on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022, as I'm recording this video, I saw Brett Favre trending. And as y'all know, whenever there's a topic to discuss coming to the new Welfare Kang, I'm definitely going to talk about it. But it shocked me that he was actually trending. And with this story that I'm about to bring to you that just kind of broke a couple minutes ago. And I'm reading it from CBS Sports. Apparently, Brett Favre was backing these companies and accused of taking $2.1 million in welfare funds, while also exaggerating connections to the NFL. Let's get into it. I wonder if Prevac's name gonna come up. Two companies backed by Brett Favre are being sued by the state of Mississippi for allegedly taking millions of dollars in welfare funds that were supposed to go toward needy families, according to documents obtained by ESPN. Prevacus, there it is, and Presol MD, both founded by Jake Van Landingham, have been trying to develop a nasal spray and cream that prevent and mitigate the effects of concussions. So this basically is adding on to the last video that I did, because the last one, it talked about the concussion cream a little bit, but it didn't go into full detail. And I didn't know, unless I forgot, that there was a nasal spray. I only knew about the concussion cream. They have been accused of taking more than $2.1 million in Mississippi welfare funds. Favre is the biggest outside investor in Prevacus, according to the lawsuit, and he claims to have invested $1 million into the companies. I had no idea this was welfare money, and I've always been an upstanding person when it comes to research, Van Landingham said in an interview with ESPN. I find that very hard to believe. In addition to allegedly accepting money earmarked for welfare programs, Prevacus and Presol MD have been accused of exaggerating their connections to the NFL and the effectiveness of their products. In marketing materials for Prevacus and Presol MD, they claim to have provided product samples and cultivated relationships with 6 NFL active teams. Van Landingham claimed that Favre made connections with several team doctors and trainers, but he couldn't remember which teams were contacted specifically. That sounds real suspect to me. You mean to tell me you made all these so-called connections with these teams? Meanwhile, this guy used to be in the NFL and probably played against all of these teams most likely in his career for many years, but you can't all of a sudden remember which team specifically by name you contacted. That's if he even contacted any at all. Because keep in mind, the article says exaggerated, which means going over the limit or pushing past too much. Embellishment, I guess that's the best way to put it. Or lying. Over exaggerating. But if you peep how it's written, this Van Landingham almost sounds like he's about to throw Brett Favre under the bus. I'm telling you, this is going to get very interesting before this thing gets to the part where he's finally put on trial and put in front of a judge. They going, that mudslinging and that throwing under the bus and throwing the dirt on top of him is about to get intense. I'm telling you. He was also unsure about whether any samples had been used by NFL players. Well, let's find them and ask them, have they ever heard of this product? Have they ever used it? The state's lawsuit alleges that some of the money Prevacus and Presol MD received from Mississippi came through the Mississippi Community Education Center, or the MCEC, which was run by Nancy New. In April, New pled guilty to bribery of a public official, fraud against the government, wire fraud, and racketeering. The lawsuit asserts that a sham of a deal was created to benefit defendants like New, Van Landingham, and Favre. The Hall of Fame quarterback has come under fire for his alleged involvement in other areas of the Mississippi welfare scandal. Favre has also been accused of receiving welfare funds to build a new volleyball facility at his alma mater, which of course we already know about that. It says, if you were to pay me, is there any way the media can find out about where it came from and how much, which goes back to that text message. See, that as long as that text message is there, ingrained in our heads, and it always pops up in every article about him, we cannot take him at his word of saying he did not know where this money came from when you specifically asked, and it was the first text that you sent to Nancy New, will the media find out about where this money came from? Which means you knew, let's hypothetically say, you honestly did not know that this money was going to come from welfare funds that was geared towards people who actually needed it. The fact that you even preface this as a question means that you were unsure of where this money was coming from. You didn't sound too sure that you were confident that this money was legit, but you was willing to accept it anyway. You just didn't want the media to find out about it, which means you knew that this was suspect behavior, or that this money was the money that you were using, that and what you were using it for was kind of shaky, but you accepted it anyway. He said out of his mouth, well, in the text message, not the media won't find out about this. He asked it as a question, which lets you know it was something that should have been side-eyed from him, but he went along with it anyway. And this plays onto his stupidity, because if he did not text Nancy New about that, or if he didn't text her what he said and called her and asked that question, he would have most likely would have been getting away with this, and we wouldn't even be talking about him right now, because is that whole their word against my word, and a verbal contract or a verbal discussion won't go very far unless Nancy New recorded the conversation, which to me, I mean, it doesn't matter at this point because they didn't talk over the phone. It was through text. In a statement to Fox News, Favre maintained that he was unaware the money was allocated for a welfare program, but that's besides the point. You still took the money when you weren't supposed to. You asked, will the media find out about this? Which means even if it didn't come from if it wasn't for people who needed it or deserved it, it was for something outside of what you were trying to use it for and did use it for. Because remember, this guy built the facility. The facility is done. It's currently being used and played in by his daughter and her teammates. No one ever told me, and I did not know that funds designated for welfare recipients were going to the university or me, Favre said. I tried to help my alma mater, USM, a public Mississippi State University, raise funds for a wellness center. My goal was and always will be to improve the athletic facilities at my university. But my thing is this: Brett Favre has hundreds of millions of dollars. He could have took that money, which wasn't a lot for him, and paid for the facility himself. That's the part that's getting everybody, including myself, who's been following this story since its inception. You have like a net worth of like $100 and something million. You could have taken some of that money, and it would have been a drop in the bucket for him, and paid for that facility yourself and wrote it off on your taxes. And what gets me is that, yes, they say he paid back like $1.1 million and what he was supposed to pay back, but he kept the interest that's over $200,000. I think it's over $250,000. Is it closer to $300,000 than not? Why is he still holding on to that interest is the biggest question that I have with this situation right here. Well, it's one of the big questions I have, because I have more, but that one still is blindsiding me. Maybe someone in the chat can help me out. Why do y'all think Brett Favre is not paying back this $260,000+ worth of interest when he already paid like $1.1 million of it back? Like, why is he holding on to that interest? That interest is nothing compared to what he already paid. He might as well just give it and pay it up. And again, we're going back to that text message. The media won't find out about this, will they? That makes you look very shady. That means you was taking funds from somewhere you weren't supposed to be, even if it wasn't for welfare and it was for maybe another program. You wasn't supposed to tap into that. And keep in mind, if y'all haven't done so already, I have a whole playlist about this. Just watch the videos from the beginning, and it's almost like it's telling a story from one point down to now of the stuff he's been involved with and the money that was taken from these people. And on top of that, the people in Jackson, Mississippi are still going through it with that dirty water. And like I said before, this could not have happened at a worse time for him, because this was a blip on the radar. Like last year when this first got mentioned, like no one was really talking about it. I remember I was one of the few that actually spoke about it. And then this rolled itself back around. And when it came out, I said, people are just now finding out about this. That was my initial reaction, because I was like, I definitely spoke about this last year. It just didn't make headline news like it is now. They barely want to put it out there now. Why do you think all this other stuff keeps popping up? And then every now and then they'll throw something in there about Brett Favre. But like I said, what really brought this back to light, in my opinion, was what's going on down there in Jackson with that water. And then this popped up like right behind it. So yeah, that's the latest in the Brett Favre Welfare King saga. Like I said, there's a whole playlist where these videos are, and y'all can, it's easily accessible. If y'all want to go back and look at them again, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and do so at your own leisure. But I'm telling you, this guy is a crook. He is a snake. He is a thief. And most of all, he is the new Welfare King.